Você está na TV Shopping e nós vamos falar sobre pesquisa e marcas na área de shopping center. Estamos aqui com o especialista Hermann Kircher, da Kircher Research Associates. Hello, Mr. Kircher.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you here in Brazil.
It's my pleasure too.
What are the minimum requirements to construct an ID?
Every shopping center that I know of essentially has a name.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that identifies the shopping center is its name.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is whether or not that name is unique. Iguatemi, São Paulo, if the name São Paulo was associated with the shopping center, that means that that shopping center has a close connection to the city.
To the city, yes.
And if you have a close connection to the city, then you have to demonstrate that you are really part of the city. You're not just a business, but you're an integral part of the city. You have to participate in the public nature of the city.
But São Paulo is a big city.
Indeed.
We have a lot of cities inside the city.
Yes. Associating a name with a city of this size probably does not have the same meaning as associating it with a neighborhood or a smaller community. And then you can participate in the life of the community. The second identity is the type of tenants that it has. Anchor tenants, we call them, that may account for maybe up to 50% of the space of the shopping center. And they're major tenants that are not as big as the anchor tenants, but they're still much larger than the small stores. The third issue is the selection of merchandise and tenants. Are you a fashion center? And if you're a fashion center, then obviously the focus is on fashion and being up to date in the fashion industry. If your focus is on household furnishings, furniture and electronics and so on, then that is your focus. If you're very large, you cannot afford to be only one thing. You probably have to accommodate different uses. Starting with the name and the tenants, the next issue is the accessibility. You know, how easy is it to get to the shopping center? I've done some work in India, for instance. In some countries, if you're not on public transportation, you cannot operate because either the people don't have enough cars or the traffic is so bad that your trade area is very small because nobody is going to take 2 hours to drive to the shopping center and 2 hours to go home. It's not worth the effort. So accessibility is another identifying feature of the shopping center. And if you supply parking, then obviously is there sufficient and how expensive is it to park? In North America, you do not pay when you park in shopping centers, certainly not in the suburban areas. And even in the downtown areas, if you have to pay, most of the stores would give you a voucher, you get a credit. If you have purchased something in the store, you have free parking. And I think the last main component is the architecture and the design of the shopping center. You know, how easy is it to spend time there? We had the issue of not smoking in shopping centers. There were a lot of complaints because in the clothing stores, the clothing smelled like smoke.
Yes.
And so when that changed, it made a very significant difference to the way that the merchandise was displayed and everything else. So these all play a role.
But you are clearly speaking about existent shopping centers.
Yes.
And what about the new ones? How can you compose an identification for a completely new shopping center?
Well, the first thing you have to do is to find out who is there now. Because in most mature markets, not in all in Brazil, but in other parts of the world, there is already existing competition. So before you look at a new shopping center, the first thing that you do is to establish who is there already. How big are they, and how successful do they appear to be? The second issue is who can you serve in this area? If you establish in the industry trade, it's called a trade area or an area of influence for your shopping center, who lives there? How much money do they have? What education do they have? What is the age structure? Is there an ethnic distribution that you should take into account? For instance, in Toronto, in Canada, we have a lot of immigration from Asiatic countries. So you might find a neighborhood that has a lot of Indian or Asiatic population. So if you want to build a shopping center, you have to understand who is your public that you want to serve. And then you establish what we would call, and I've done thousands of those, a market feasibility study. A market feasibility study says, is it a good site, or is it a medium site, or is it not the best in the world? Is the land large enough? Can you get access to it? What is the competitive structure? And what is the market potential in this area? The next question is, will you get permission to establish the shopping center where you think it? And sometimes the best shopping center location is not the one that the city wishes you to go to. The crucial component, when the market is right and when your financing is available, is to go through the planning process. And that sometimes can take very long.
What are the main differences between constructing a brand in, for example, North America and in Brazil?
I think the urgency for branding of shopping centers increases with the competition. Because the more competition you have, the more you have to be able to differentiate yourself from them. I'm different because we have the most modern facilities, we have the best tenants, we have the best prices, we have all of these advantages. If you are in a Brazilian city and you are the only shopping center in town, branding is probably not the highest priority because there's nothing else. So as competition increases in Brazil, you're building maybe, 20 shopping centers a year, somebody was saying. Maybe it's a little optimistic, but you will be building more shopping centers. Then I think it is important to differentiate your shopping center from all the others. And one way to do it is to try to brand your shopping center, to create an identity in the customer's mind that when they say, I need some fashion item, oh, fashion center, yeah, I remember that one. You go out to me, that's the fashion center, or whatever the name is. I think branding will become a lot more important here. It is important in North America or in Europe right now. But competition plays a major role in it. Because if you have a successful brand, you attract more customers. If you have a chance to attract more customers, they will likely spend more money. Not only that, you are the location that the new retailer who wants to come to your market wants to go to, because you are the identified entity. You are the name in the community. And if you put all of these things together, you increase in turnover, in sales is there. And because in the end, the rent that your tenant can afford to pay is directly related to the amount of volume he sells, you're more profitable if you have more traffic.
Mr. Kircher, thank you for your interview.
Very good. Thank you very much.